Hello everyone, it's Atoms4Master and welcome to this brand new The Sims 4 speed build. So today I'm building the Lloyd Beach House, which is inspired by the architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright, which many of you probably know, or at least you probably know a building by him, because he's for instance built Falling Water, which is like an icon in the world of architecture, and he's known for his overhanging eaves and yeah, basically just the architecture which is shown in this house as well. However, this time it's built in a very tropical world. This is Sulani, which is, yeah, as you probably know, the most tropical world which The Sims 4 has to offer. And yeah, you know, because the summer holidays are sort of in question right now due to the entire crisis that's going on in the world, I felt like, or at least I just personally really wanted to get into some summer vibe and therefore build a tropical beach house. But still, I wanted to make it very modern and not really like the beach houses I've built before, or at least not once they've got a roof, because many of the roofs are sort of like really tropical, which are equipped then with the actual roof which comes with the Island Living expansion pack, like those textures. But I felt like this one should be slightly more modern, but still like really like living on the ocean, which is basically what you're doing in this house. So yeah, just a quick reference to the crisis going on right now, in case you hadn't seen the date of this video yet and you're seeing it years after. Currently we're in the middle of the biggest pandemic I believe the world has ever seen, because this is the corona crisis, which is crazy, and I don't think I'll spend too much time talking about it, even though it's hard. That's what I'm noticing whenever you do meet up with people either via Zoom or whatever, that anything you actually talk about tends to go about the coronavirus, because it's basically the biggest thing going on in everyone's lives right now. And normally we would talk about all the fun things everyone did in the weekend, but yeah, that's not really what's going on right now. So it tends to fall back on the coronavirus quite a lot. So probably that will happen during this video as well. I will not even... Yeah, that's just gonna happen. I know about it. But I guess personally I find it cool to hear about like the measures being taken in different countries and to see what everyone's experience about it is. So I guess I'll share a little bit about that too. For me personally, I'm kind of lucky that actually my studies is still going alright. It's all going online, but I guess it's fine. They managed to switch it very quickly into like going all online and doing all the lectures and all the working groups and stuff online, which is fine, because I guess we cannot change anything about it, and that's the only positive thing about it, I guess. At first I was scared about all the things being moved and was like, okay, that really sucks, and you feel like you're just unlucky. But at this moment the entire world is unlucky, and I know that there's very many more people being way more unlucky than I am, and that makes it slightly easier. On the other hand, that also makes it like crazy to imagine how many people are affected by this. Like for instance, say you've been planning the Olympic Games for like 8 years to be held in Japan, and then all of a sudden it's moved. I guess that's a positive thing. But I mean, people would not even be able to imagine that would happen like half a year ago, and now all of a sudden it shows that we're actually a lot more flexible than we originally think we are. Probably, I think this will definitely have a big impact on the long term as well. Anyways, about the house, as you can see, yeah, the general shape is starting to take shape, and if you're slightly familiar with Frank Lloyd Wright's architecture, you'll see that the roof is really what is the part that I was inspired by. Of course, the overhanging eaves also make sure that not too much daylight is coming in to the house, or at least daylight is still coming in, but direct sunlight isn't, which would in real life mean that it wouldn't get too hot, which is a lot more sustainable because you don't have to use air conditioning. And besides that, it also just looks really cool, especially with those verandas all around the house basically, which provide really cool places to sit. I must note that during the video I am using custom content. You can also download this house. However, in the download version I've actually removed the custom content because I know that not everyone wants to use it in their game. And besides that, whenever I use custom content, the houses are never being downloaded because you've got to actually change your settings slightly or change the options when looking in the gallery for a house. You've got to put a tick in the box which says custom content, and basically no one does that because not very many people want to have custom content in their game, or they don't even know that it works like that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to just upload it the regular way, because the only place where I'm actually using custom content is with the windows and also some shutters, which you'll see, but those are not super relevant for the house to look the way it does. But yeah, the windows, I did really want to use these. It is Max's match content, which means that it looks very much like the regular EA content, which is personally what I find most important when using custom content, that at least it doesn't stand out too much from the rest of the aesthetics of the game. By the way, you can download that custom content as well, because I've put the link in the description of this video. If I haven't, let me know, but I think I'll remember. And then from there you can basically download this custom content and make sure that the house looks the same as it does for me. Make sure that whenever you use the custom content, that at least whenever you upload the or update your game, so update The Sims 4, that you actually remove everything from your mods folder into like some separate folder, and then update the game and then place it back, because sometimes mods can break, mods or custom content, I believe, especially mods, but sometimes maybe even custom content too. So in that case, yeah, it wouldn't function properly, so you've got to remove them from your folder whenever you're updating the game. But yeah, it's sort of a weird beach house, to be honest, because looking at it right now, it looks like super massive and almost like a palace, sort of, or at least it's sort of, yeah, official, I guess. What would you call it in English? It's like established, sort of, yeah, it is a beach house. It's just a holiday home. For the interior, I really focused on, that was sort of the inspiration for the house, on a double height living area, because I just thought that would be really cool, and I didn't focus enough on the interiors with my build, or at least on specific fun or good looking interior places. I must say still the interior of the rest of the house isn't too good, but I think the interior of the just the entrance area with the living room, the kitchen and the dining area, which is all combined into one place, that turned out to be pretty cool, especially because of that double height wall or double height ceiling. Here, by the way, I'm using that texture still from the typical tropical look, which came with on Living, but later on you'll see that I'm actually changing it into another color, because I felt like that would make it a little bit more modern and also make it a little bit different from the things I built previously. Going back to the coronavirus, I still remember mentioning in my previous video, which I partly made because of the coronavirus, because I all of a sudden had more time, and that I mentioned that I expected to have more time to make videos. So far that has actually not even really been the case, because study has still been going on, the side job I'm doing is still going on, so quite many things are still happening, but at least I've got some more time. But the stupid thing is that I tend to only have time during the weekends, and then whenever you want to make a video just during one weekend, it means that you spend the entire weekend working on that video, meaning you cannot do anything else during that weekend, and the weather's been good, so I wanted to be outside a little bit as well. So I didn't have too much of a chance to work on videos recently, but this weekend I did find time, so I managed to make this one. And maybe in the future I should sort of look into doing halves during the weekend, so doing the first half of the video during one weekend and then finishing it up during the second weekend, because in that way there would be at least a consistent uploading schedule, sort of uploading every 2 weeks. By the way, talking about going outside, yes, in the Netherlands we can still go outside. We're not in a crazy lockdown. We are in a lockdown, and like very many things are closed, but like not all shops are closed. And the original statement is that you should only go outside when it's really essential, which people do listen to. You do notice that people sort of seem to being done with all of these measures. and they're slowly getting outside a little bit more, we can still just go out to do some jogging or running or anything as much as we want, which personally for me really helps out a lot, because I used to do quite some jogging or running, but then I started doing rowing, and then I didn't do too much running anymore. But now rowing is not possible, so I'm back at doing running. And I've actually just really seen this as a chance to challenge myself and to actually like sort of get better at it and improve my running, because I do notice that whenever you set goals, it's actually a lot more fun. I'm also sort of one of those people who doesn't run if he can't take his running app with him, because for me personally, running without a running app is just the most boring thing ever, just like running without music. So I always need my phone with me so that I can listen to music and to keep track of my progress, because every 5 minutes that voice saying me what my speed was just really helps me out, because whenever I went slower than I wanted, it actually is motivation to actually like get started running faster. And when you've been running fast, it's actually like good motivation, like okay, your effort is being rewarded, and that's also a reason to actually keep going. So for me personally, I've really been trying to progress on that field, which is fun, and I've got some time to work on my portfolio right now as well, my architecture portfolio, because I'm planning on doing an internship next half a year, or at least after the summer. But I must say that during these times, it's still sort of unsure what that will all be like. So I really don't get too much thinking time about that, or at least I can't get myself to think about it, just because there's still so many things which I'm not sure about. Just like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the summer holidays, I really hope we can still go on holidays, but at the same time, there's things in me saying, okay, it's not really logical that it's going to happen. Tomorrow in the Netherlands, we've actually got a new press conference, which is probably when they will announce that no events, like no festivals and stuff, will be happening during the entire summer, which totally sucks. But I guess, we're all in it together, and that really helps a lot. I can imagine, by the way, that if you've lost someone to the coronavirus or anything else recently, that it's very hard. So in that case, I'm thinking about you, and good luck in these hard times, because I think it's important that we sometimes see things relative to how they are and not see this as too much of a big problem, unless of course you're missing someone, because then I can imagine it's really hard. But if that's not the case, then we should make sure that we're there for the other people, and we should try to stay positive, because that's the only way we get through this. And of course, we should play The Sims a lot, which is also definitely a way to stay positive. I've actually gotten very many texts from people who I know closely, who started playing The Sims right now because they've got a lot more time on their hands, and they ask me how should I do it and stuff. And there's also very many lists of good Sims builders, or at least in some Dutch media, popular things. There's these lists, and then I'm being tagged, and I'm not on the list, and they're like, how are you not on the list? Which I can imagine though. But it's funny to see how everyone's actually moving to The Sims, and it's actually a thing which also brings people together during these times. By the way, like I mentioned, you can download this build from the gallery, just like you can download all my builds from the gallery. My gallery ID is Dutch Sims Master, so if you type that in the gallery search bar, you'll be able to find my account there, and you'll be able to download very, very many of my houses, because I've built a crazy amount of houses during the past 5-6 years that The Sims 4 has been a thing. I must say, I'm also curious how new packs will be announced / released, because normally, of course, the spring pack or summer pack would be announced during EA Play, which I haven't actually read an official announcement about yet, but I believe E3 is not happening, so I assume, I'm actually 100% sure that EA Play is not happening either, so I'm curious how EA will actually cope with that and how they'll actually manage it. And I'm very curious about the topic of the new expansion pack, because recently I did see a tweet by one of the sim gurus about the planning for the upcoming few months. I believe it was half a year, which stated that they had been working on a stuff pack, a game pack, and an expansion pack. Obviously, because that's basically the three things they can be working on. which I believe should be coming during the upcoming half a year. I must say I'm especially curious about the new expansion pack because we've got quite a lot already right now. I mean, we've got the most essential things. I'm actually not seeing very many comments anymore about people wanting one specific pack, even though all the time that's been about pets, seasons, university, for me personally, island living. But it seems like we've got quite a lot now, so I'm curious what they'll go for, because it could be like something new, maybe something sort of innovative, or at least something different than what they've done. It's not going to be one that's very expected, I think, or am I missing out on one? No. I think we truly do have like the most important ones, or the most general ones. I mean, university, obviously we need to have university, but right now there's not one which comes to mind which we are still missing in The Sims. But let me know, by the way, what expansion pack would you like to see, and what are you still missing in The Sims? Because it's crazy how over the years we've actually gotten so many more things. It's hard to imagine that in the beginning we didn't even have pools, and right now we definitely have them. Just like terrain tools, we've got them. I'm still really hoping for lots with terrain changed in them already, so that you can adjust the terrain, or at least so that you can, for instance, make cliffside lots, etc. Because personally, that would really add a new dimension to playing the game. Because personally, I noticed that even though we've got terrain tools, I'm not using them very much, simply because it's sort of weird to have like a flat lot in a flat surrounding, and then all of a sudden making a huge hill in that landscape. So it would obviously be better to have, like we've also got these water-sided lots with a slope, even though I must say that we cannot change or edit terrain there, which is not too good news for possible future cliff lots, but it would be cool to have them. But I'm curious to hear what you think of these. By the way, I tried out a combination of like different colored chairs, because recently I've really been into the Vitra the Vitra chairs, like the classic ones with like basically ones I currently added to the table, which are very well known, and I actually want to have one myself, but they're super expensive, or well, not crazy expensive, but they are expensive, at least expensive for a student, so I don't have one. But I really would like to have one, and recently once your eye starts falling onto it, you actually see it a lot, and everywhere on TV, in real life, you see those chairs all around, probably just to say to me you've not got one. But I try to, often they're placed in like interesting color combinations, so I try to do that, because this is sort of like a designer interesting interior, or at least not your basic homely interior, but more like the ones you would see in a magazine, especially because the space is also just very interesting and exclusive. I mean, look at that ceiling height, it's crazy. I felt it would be too much to actually use those different colors here, so I actually got back to just using white chairs instead of them, because that just looked a little bit more normal. And I thought people would otherwise think, what the fuck are you doing? And these planter pots in front of the house, I first put them on different levels, which I thought would be an interesting touch. However, it didn't really look too good, so I've just put them on the same level now. And that's something I'm actually doing like all the time, these floating water pots, because I just think it's really cool, because that's what I would personally be missing if I would be living on the water. Of course, it's really cool, but you don't really have the green around you. You only get the blue of the sea, and of course, like in the distance, you've also got views with green. But I can imagine having some of those floating, green pads would be cool. Then the first thing I'm thinking of is, how do you maintain them? But that's probably with the jet ski, because I'm also at the back. I've added almost like a small marina where there will be 2 jet skis located in the end, which is pretty cool. And honestly, that's really an aspect of my dream house. If I would build a dream house, then it would be near the sea. I think that's really a dream of mine. But then also there would be just a dock for boats, or at least I guess one boat, because having multiple boats doesn't really make too much sense. Or maybe a boat and a jet ski, when you're super rich, you can just have them both. and then you can have them near your house, so that you can just wake up, take a coffee, and then 15 minutes later be on your jet ski just to start up your morning. Which I wonder, honestly, if once you've got that opportunity, it probably looks, or when you've got that wealth that you could do that, and you've got a jet ski and stuff, then it looks very romantic to just wake up and do that. But it's probably something you in real life wouldn't actually do. In case you are very rich and you've got a jet ski and a boat and you live in a house like this, please let me know in the comments, like, what are your experiences being able to do that. But I can imagine that even though you could, you probably still wouldn't do that too much. However, that is probably different for everyone. By the way, this is the master bedroom. That's actually the only room which is upstairs. And special about this one is that it's got a next level ensuite bathroom, because the bathroom is actually fully integrated into the bedroom, meaning that there's basically just a bathtub in the middle of the room. I did change the tiles, or at least the floor texture, so that it would look sort of logical. Here I'm actually starting creating that bathroom, which I think is something you see quite a lot in these luxurious houses, especially when they're in a more tropical surrounding or environment. And I didn't actually really have much space to create, or at least the space didn't allow for a bathroom to be placed as like an actual room in here. It just didn't look very logical, because you've got those 4 tile wide wall, which the bed is located at, and that's like the perfect place to have the bed. But putting it there in the middle of the room doesn't really allow for much space for an actual bathroom. So I thought, I'm going to solve it this way. I added a wall so that it's not like you're at the toilet like in the middle of the room, but still it's maybe too extreme for some. But yeah, I guess it's The Sims, so it doesn't really matter. And if you want to change it, you can just put a wall around it. It will screw up the entire place, but just do a renovation and you'll be fine, I'm sure. So yeah, and then downstairs there's 2 more bedrooms and the gym and the sauna. I'm honestly not too sure why I put a sauna in there, but it was the last room of the house, so you can probably guess already. I was kind of done with the furnishing, so I thought, I'm going to put a sauna in, because that's almost the biggest item in the game, and it fits the luxurious style of the house. And it's also sort of cool to add a sauna, and it looked sort of cool, but it's not very logical to have a sauna in like a tropical house located on the water, I guess, but that doesn't matter too much. By the way, here I did a little, in between building the interiors, I decided to quickly do this exterior build or exterior landscaping here, because I wanted to add some variation to the building. And I also all of a sudden realized that I hadn't actually added anything on the beach yet, even though you sort of want to have that. It sort of makes it look a lot better, actually, even though I tend to, whenever I've got a beach like this, I tend to not build too much on it. It actually helps a lot to do build something on it, because it makes it look a lot more real. Yeah, not necessarily realistic maybe, but it does look like better, I guess. By the way, that palm tree in the middle of the house, that's really, I personally think it's pretty cool, because you can actually see it from more places than you expect throughout the house, because it's just like going through all the floors. By the way, and here I'm adding the jet skis, which are essential to live the full dream, I guess. But yeah, talking again about the coronavirus, I'm curious to hear what your experiences are. Like, how is it going? Where are you from? Because it, like I mentioned, does vary a lot for each country. But for me personally, it's very crazy to imagine that, like, normally I think quite a lot about how the world is constant in motion, and constantly people are moving all around the globe quickly, and all around the world there's people working, there's people, like, there's bustling places like cities. I mean, New York, for instance, never sleeps, and all the time everyone's partying at clubs and stuff. But currently all those things are not happening, and like not ever have this many people been in their home country or been at home as right now, which is also sort of weird to imagine, because everyone who was abroad was actually being brought back to their home country, which resulted in some crazy flights as well. I'm personally really into flying, and I love looking at flight radar, and I just love like just the aviation industry. So that also resulted, for instance, in a KLM flight from Amsterdam to Sydney with a stop, obviously, because otherwise it's too far, which is something which hadn't happened in like 20 years. So it also opens some new opportunities or opens new doors, even though this was only for a couple of times to get Dutch people back from Australia back to the Netherlands. But yeah, it's crazy how also innovation is going so quickly in these times. And back in school, I always learned that during wars, development went quickly. Maybe I mentioned this in my previous video as well already. But during war, development is very quick. For instance, during the, I believe, First World War, we were very quick to develop fighter planes, which helped the aviation industry a lot, because yeah, all of a sudden there were planes because you needed to have planes because the enemies had planes. And that's sort of the same right now with, for instance, like oxygen machines, or what do you call them? Respiratory machines, probably, something like that. It's probably, yeah, you notice that that movement is happening right now as well, and that development in certain fields is actually progressing a lot. For instance, the digital conference program development is going super quick. Of course, like, I mean, 6 weeks ago, no one had ever heard of Zoom, or at least personally I hadn't. And I don't think very many people knew of Zoom. And now it's like a word to put in the dictionary, and it's a verb, and like everyone's using Zoom. I mean, even Boris Johnson used Zoom and left his meeting ID open, which I still think is a big joke. But because that means that basically everyone would be able to join it, because he also posted it on Twitter, or I believe Twitter or Facebook, which I thought was sort of funny. But yeah, it's interesting to see how so quickly the entire globe can change into something so different. And it does bring people together, I guess. And it gives people time to actually watch YouTube videos. That's what I've noticed as well, because the views have actually been going up, even though I didn't upload extras. So yeah, there can only be one cause, and that's the coronavirus, because so many people are just staying at home right now. This is, by the way, the second bedroom, which I imagine to be more of a neutral guest bedroom, but it could also be a bedroom for one of the children, probably some older children, because it's not, yeah, you know, we've not got like planes or little Lego trains and stuff going around the room. And then here I'm working on the gym, which I mentioned before already, which actually turned out pretty cool, because you're actually able to run with a view of the beach and the ocean, and also you're able to do those other muscle training, like the breath machine, with a view over the ocean. And I actually noticed this really cool plant, which I also added in the bedroom, which is also here in the gym, which actually adds a lot of color to a place and really looks cool. So it's weird how sometimes you can explore new items all of a sudden. Even though I've been playing the game for so long, but right now we've also got so many items, or at least I'm lucky enough to have all the packs for The Sims, which means that I've got a lot of items. There was something weird about The Sims, because I had to reinstall it, because Origin acted weird, but therefore I had to reinstall all the packs. But it turned out not all the packs were actually installed. So I've built this pack without, I believe, Seasons, Strangerville, and Parenthood. And there were actually specific items I was missing. I was like, okay, I want to add that item. And then I believe it was the bathtub with the wood under it, even though I can imagine that was from Spa Day. And I haven't, no, Spa Day was installed. At least that bathtub, I was missing it. I think it's actually from Seasons, that bathtub, because that's the most logical one. But it's funny to see that there's so many items I know, and there's even nowadays still items which I see them in real life, and then they remind me of specific Sims 3 items, and I mean, that's a long time ago, but also from that game I had so many items in my mind, and I knew exactly where to find them. And probably as Vivid Sims players, you know, or you definitely recognize this. Yeah, here's the sauna, by the way, which doesn't really make too much sense, but I guess that doesn't matter too much. And then here I'm moving on to the outdoor deck, which yeah, just has some sofas and I believe also a table and a foosball table, because yeah, those are all those items which I actually tend to forget quite a lot, or I then often forget that we've got these items, which are actually really cool to make it a lot more lively. And I can imagine if you use this house to play in, then having a foosball table on the deck is actually a lot of fun. Just like having that outdoor table so that you can have dinner here, even though you've got to walk with your meal all the way up. But I guess that doesn't matter. I mean, on the other side, you've got a hot tub and some laying beds. So you don't have a lot to complain if your sim is actually living in this house. But anyways, we're nearing the end of the video. I'm actually finishing it up with an overview like you're used to from me. And in the meantime, please let me know what you're doing during these times of quarantine. Are you actually like more busy than you used to be, or are you less busy and do you have a lot more time to play The Sims? Also, if you've got suggestions for future builds, let me know, because then I will listen to that. I'll actually create those builds. And then I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and then I hope to see you back later.